Welcome back to another update on Bitcoin. Now, recently I've seen a lot of people talking about Bitcoin going to 36,000. So let's talk about that. But firstly, we have to take a look at the short term for Bitcoin in terms of where we're going. Now, firstly, we are still in a bearish structure. We've talked about this with, of course, talking about this breakout of the lower low, which we've mentioned, breaking out of the structure that was previously created. And we talked about the pullback, of course, for Bitcoin going back. Now, we are already seeing this low being created. We are in fact seeing the pullback happening. Now, where this is going to go is going to be a few levels. And depending on how much it pulls back, we're going to be seeing that momentum really hitting. Ultimately, the target we're aiming for is 84,000. Now, some of the areas that we're looking at the pullback is the 91,300, the 92,500, and then the 93,800. So a heads up is that if we are able to actually see the price pull back to this 93,800 area, but then break above it, then actually what we could be seeing is Bitcoin going back up to that 100K. So if we do see this Bitcoin pulling back to these areas, these are the sort of levels you want to look out for. If we are stopping at around 91 or around the 92,000 area, then you could easily see the price really just plummet towards this 84K. So I've already highlighted the area that we're looking at right now, the trade structures that we're looking at right now, is the pullback for Bitcoin into a short trade. But this short trade isn't to 36,000. This short trade would be to 84,000, where ultimately I think it's going to be the accumulation for Bitcoin. It's going to be where everything actually really starts to take off. It's where institutions want to heavily buy in, and that would be the opportunity. I think that 84,000 would be the lowest point of Bitcoin without obviously any major things happening, because if we are seeing 84,000 broken, then it goes to that question: are we going to be looking at 36,000? Well, then to answer that question, firstly we have to realize is that with where we are right now, even if we were to break 84,000, there is a huge area in which people are just not talking about. They've completely skipped it and gone and talked about this 36,000 area. Now, this area I'm talking about is the 60,000 to 70,000 area, where we've seen in the past before, especially when firstly we saw these two highs that was created here, and this took a long time before we could break it and see Bitcoin reach that 120K area. But more importantly, it was when we did get that momentum coming in, when we did get that run up, you saw the price stagnate within the 60,000 to 70,000 area. And so the fact that people are completely ignoring this area is absurd to me, because this would be the ultimate accumulation zone. Now, the likelihood for me in terms of breaking below 84,000 and dropping to 70,000 is quite low, unless we are going to be seeing major fundamental news happening. But if we, like we said, there's always a possibility. So if we do see it, then 70,000 for me and 60,000, the 60,000 to 70,000 area would be the golden area. It would be where I think in the next 10 years could be the cheapest area you could ever buy Bitcoin again. And so that's the area I'm looking for. So the answer to do I think we can see Bitcoin going to 36,000? No, because this area at 60 to 70,000 exists. If we fail the 60 to 70,000, it would mean that even institutions have left Bitcoin. And at that point, we could be seeing Bitcoin go all the way back down to 20K, let alone 36K. And so that's why I'm talking about, I don't think institutions are going to leave, especially with how we're seeing so many firms being built up on all of these technology nowadays. And so that's the long-term analysis for Bitcoin. And like we've said, for the short term, what we are looking for is, of course, this pullback, and then we're shorting it all the way down to 84,000. As always, none of that financial advice, so do take quite a grain of salt. Make sure to do your own due diligence research, and I'll catch you guys next time.